All right, let's dive right in. In this explainer, we're going to break down the core patterns of narcissism. We're going to map out the mindset, the tactics, and even the vulnerabilities, all based on our source material. So let's get started.
So here's our roadmap. First, we're going to get inside the narcissist's head, their psychological foundation, to really see what makes them tick. Then we'll see how that thinking turns their whole world into a kind of battlefield. From there, we'll unpack their go-to manipulation tactics. And finally, we'll reveal what our source calls their one true weakness, their kryptonite.
Okay, so to really get a handle on the behavior, you have to start with the core mindset that's driving everything. And it all begins with how a narcissist defends their own ego. Our source points to this idea of immature defense mechanisms. Now, we all have defense mechanisms to help us cope, right? But these, they do the opposite. They actively block emotional growth and self-awareness. It's almost like a state of arrested psychological development. They're just stuck.
So let's look at the tools in this toolbox. You've got denial, which is just a flat-out refusal to accept reality. Then there's projection, where they take their own worst traits and pin them on you. Rationalization is all about inventing clever excuses for their bad behavior. And splitting, that's where everything is either perfect or terrible, black or white, with no room for nuance. You put these four together, and it makes any kind of real self-reflection pretty much impossible.
So what happens when someone can't self-reflect? Well, it all spills outward. This internal wiring leads directly to this huge inflated sense of entitlement. They have this deep, deep need to project a larger-than-life, almost heroic image of themselves, mainly to cover up for what's missing on the inside.
And this quote from our source, wow, it just hits the nail on the head. It perfectly captures that core issue. All that noise, right? All that grandstanding and puffing out their chest. It's often just echoing inside a deep internal emptiness.
So, if that's what's happening on the inside, how in the world does that affect the way they see everything else? Well, it basically turns life into a constant competition. It's not a place for connection. It's a battlefield.
This slide just lays it out so clearly. A healthy worldview sees life as a space for collaboration. The narcissist, they see an eternal arena of conflict. Values and rules are for other people thanks to their double standards. And this part is absolutely key. There are no we plans, ever. There are only me plans.
And this inability to form a real partnership is so important to grasp. I mean, even in situations that absolutely demand teamwork and honesty, their whole mindset forces them to go it alone, always protecting their own secret agenda.
And, as you can probably guess, this worldview doesn't just stay in their head. It inevitably spills over into how they interact with people, defining their relationships by a really consistent and destructive pattern of crossing lines.
Our source lays out this really chaotic cycle. First, they just ignore personal boundaries, privacy, your own space. Then, any affection you get from them is totally fickle. It's like a switch. It can be turned on and then boom, switched off in a second. And then there's this last one, and it's wild. They can act as if the entire history you have with them, poof, never even happened.
Okay, now let's get into the nitty-gritty of how they keep control. Our source has a great name for these: cheap, immoral tricks. And they're all designed to do one simple thing: to psychologically throw you off balance.
Now, this one is really subtle, but it is so corrosive. It's basically psychological sabotage. You have a good, positive goal, and they will secretly work to undermine it. They literally inject their negative intent right into the middle of your positive one.
Let's paint a picture here to make it super clear. Let's say your intention is a good one. You want to donate money to a charity you care about. According to our source, their hidden intention is the opposite. They actually want you to lose that money. But see, the ultimate goal isn't really about the money itself. It's about making sure you feel disturbed and that you always fall short of reaching your goals.
So, after hearing all of this entrenched psychological armor, you have to wonder, right? Are there any weaknesses, any chinks in that armor? Well, the answer is yes. And this final section is all about what happens when that false mask is finally challenged.
The source uses this really intense word, burn. So what is it? What's the thing that causes this reaction, that actually breaks through all of those defenses?
Turns out there are 4 key things that really trigger this. First up, when you meet their provocations with just nothing, a cold, indifferent reaction, it completely throws them off. Second, when you expose their false mask for what it actually is. Third, when you call out their blatant contradictions. And finally, and this is a huge one, when you present them with cold, hard evidence that just completely shatters their narrative.
And you know, that really brings us to the most important point of all of this. The reason to understand this whole pattern, from the immature defenses all the way to the manipulation tactics, it's not just some academic exercise. It's about getting clarity. It's the first, most crucial step you can take toward getting your own power back. So we'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. Now that you can see the machinery behind the behavior, from that hollow drum on the inside to the battlefield worldview on the outside, how does simply being aware of the pattern change the entire game?